I have just discovered this place. I didn't know it was here. For the last few weeks, I've been sitting at the top of this hill next to the street, the road, and I was going there every Sunday to watch my church service online, which I've been listening to the church services at Calvary Chapel, Albuquerque, and I didn't know this place was here. I was sitting there and realized there was a road that led down to the creek, and I came down here for the first time, and it is just beautiful here. It is so beautiful here. My van's up there. I'm loving this. I'm loving this very much. So I'd really like to do a book video today, but I'm thinking that right next to the creek is probably not the best place to do it because it's a bit on the noisy side. And I'm going to go uphill and plan out my video, and it's going to be the end of the month thing. Hello there, my name is Linda Jo Martin, and I am telling you about what books I read during the month of February 2021. I read 7 books. 2 were picture books, 2 were middle grade books, and 3 were for adults. The picture books that I read were A Visit to William Blake's Inn, the 1982 Newbery Medal winner, and also Last Stop on Market Street, which was the 2016 Newbery Medal winner. The middle grade books that I read were Other Words for Home, which was about a Syrian refugee. It was written in a poetic style, and that was an honor book in the year 2020. And the other one that I read was a Newbery Medal winner for 2008. It is called Good Masters, Sweet Ladies, Voices from a Medieval Village. Very interesting. It was written partially in poetry. There were some history notes. There were a lot of footnotes. It was as accurate as she could get it to Middle Ages, and it told the story of 23 different children living in the Middle Ages. It was written as a play for children in probably elementary or middle school to perform, and I enjoyed it very much. It was a bit on the odd side. I'd never read anything quite like it, but I very much enjoyed it. Now, the 3 books that I read that were for adults were, well, 2 of them were for Black History Month. One of them was The Invisible Man, and I was very impressed by that book. It kept my interest and even excited me to read it. So I would recommend that one to anyone. It's a story of a young black man from the South who eventually ended up in the North, and his story is just remarkable. So the other book that I read for Black History Month was a narrative from the life of Frederick Douglass. It was 11 short chapters, memoir written by a former slave, and it reveals the horrors of slave life in Maryland back in the day before the Civil War. I think everyone should read it. I think it should be taught in high schools. I think every American should know that information. And I also started reading Go Tell It on the Mountain. Let's wait a minute for that. Let's go back to the 3rd book that I did finish in the month of February, and that was 100 Years of Solitude by Gabriel Garcia Marquez, a Colombian writer. This is a famous classic book and tells the story of the Buendia family that goes through several generations, and everything that happened to them. A lot of absurd things. There was some wars, there were some bad scenes, but for the most part, you know, it was who fell in love with who and how did that go. So babies were born, of course, because we've got 3 generations. And I don't want to tell too much about it. I think it's something that you would probably like to experience for yourself. The books that I started in the month of February that I still am reading, well, right now I am reading a Newbery honor book from 2020. I thought this was going to be a middle grade book, which probably it is because the protagonist is about 13 years old. Her name is Genesis, and this is Genesis Begins Again. And apparently her father has a habit of not paying the rent, and they have to move a lot, and so she has to move to a new school and begin again. I am enjoying this book. I got a lesson in modern day slang from that book. Chapter 1 was full of it. And then also I'm still reading The World Rushed In. I had no intention of finishing this book in February. It's rather thick. It's a story of William Swain, who is a man who lived in New York, and this book contains the actual letters and diary entries that he wrote when he left his home in New York and went to California during the gold rush. And there's also some letters that his wife and his brother wrote to him. So that is an excellent book, and it's going to take me some time to get done. And another book I'm still reading is George Washington's World. This is actually a history that is written for children, and it was a Newbery honor book in 1942. I'm in part 2 out of 6. The part that I'm in is called George Washington when he was a soldier, and it really tells about the world around him, not focusing totally on George Washington, but on people who lived at that time, events that took place at that time. I just read about the French and Indian War. Yeah, there's a lot to be said for this book. I'm very much enjoying it. So, putting those books aside, other books that I started reading and did not finish. Amos Fortune, Free Man. I also wanted to read that one during Black History Month, and I have read chapter 1. There are only 2 more chapters. It's a pretty short book, so I'm planning to get through that today. And then I started Go Tell It on the Mountain by James Baldwin. Really was intrigued by it, but I put a halt on that because I'm going to be doing a read-along with 2 other booktubers. And so I'm waiting for them to get their copies of the book and start reading it. And The Purpose-Driven Life, still reading that. I'm not going through it in 40 days, but I am slowly getting through it. And the other thing that I read was the Bible. Of course, I'm still reading the Bible. I always will, hopefully, as long as I can read. And that's it. I think that's my entire wrap-up for the month of February 2021. And now I will show you the beautiful stream again. Look, there's still snow on the ground here. Hasn't snowed in a few weeks. This stream is Indian Creek. Somebody has shot so many bullet holes through that thing, I can't even tell which claim it is. I know it's a new 49er claim. This is so beautiful here. You can tell the fire has been in through here, but there are still a lot of green trees.